Back around 2010 or so, I was still living in the Tampa Bay area in Florida. Me and my buddies, we would get together every weekend for what we called Atheist Pipe Club. And the idea was we were going to hang out at my house and smoke our pipes here and talk about atheism in general, I guess. It almost immediately turned into us watching movies, really. And mostly horror movies, I think. It just kind of turned into horror movie club, really. Um, for whatever reason, I'm not really. I don't really remember the origin of this, but every August was Asian Horror Month. This was some years after the Asian horror trend of the early 2000s, but that just meant that there was a lot of material for us to go back and soak up. And I was introduced to a lot of really cool movies because of Asian Horror Month. First and foremost being A Tale of Two Sisters, which easily makes a top 10 favorite horror movies list for me. Um, Movies like Pulse and the original Dark Water or The Grudge and of course Ringu. Um, and I know it's April and not August. And I didn't even watch an Asian horror movie, but this is just a clunky little segue for me to get back to 2002's American remake, the movie that started it all, the American remakes of Japanese horror movies, The Ring. My name's Matt A, and this is $2 Horror. I recently rewatched The Ring just on a whim. I saw it in the $5 movie deals on Fandango, formerly Voodoo, and I was like, The Ring. Yeah, why not? I forgot just what a vibe this movie is. It's dripping with atmosphere. It's always raining. It's always kind of dreary out, and everybody's kind of unhappy throughout the whole entire. Well, everybody's very unhappy throughout the whole entire movie. You got that student film that we see several times, which is a portion of playing right behind me right now. Um, they achieve this atmosphere largely by using blue and green lenses on the filters to achieve it in camera rather than color grading in post. Just a little refresh on the story. Rachel is a journalist whose niece recently died a mysterious, apparently natural death. Her heart just stopped, you know, and her sister asks her, you're a journalist, you're good at finding stuff out. That's what you do. Can you look into this, maybe? And she does, and that's kind of the way the story gets going, and it seems a little ridiculous. I recently bought the book here, written by Koji Suzuki. That's not really what happens in the story. His niece does die, but it's not like a blood relative of his. It's his wife's niece. He's a journalist whose career is kind of winding down. And he's like, oh, this is a story that could put me on the map. These four teenagers all died on the same night around the same time in mysterious ways. You know, apparently natural death. Not a very good book. I'm sorry to say, I didn't finish it. I don't know if it was the translation, but the writing is kind of atrocious, and the protagonist is kind of a sexist asshole. So just didn't finish it. Why bother? Maybe that's why in both the Japanese movie and the American remake they turn the protagonist into a female. David Dorfman plays Aiden, the very serious and unsettling son of Rachel's.
What?
He's like a 10-year-old kid, and he's just glum as hell. He's very serious, and he kind of seems like he's smarter than everybody else. Throughout the whole movie, it feels like he's just waiting for everybody else to catch up with him.
I don't have enough time.
Oh, honey, I know I've been working a lot. And I'm sorry, but I promise you I'm gonna make it up to you.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about time before we die.
Martin Henderson as Noah. And friends, Noah is living that videographer life. He's got that sweet industrial living space with his cool, like, middle of a warehouse living room set up, and he's got all this camera gear, all this video gear, and you know, these big industrial shelves and everything. Noah's living it up, man. Brian Cox is Richard Morgan, father of the ghosty ghoul. Samara, played by DeVay Chase. Shannon Cochran as Anna Morgan. And Adam Brody as male teen number 1. Directed by Gore Verbinski. He directed the first 3 Pirates of the Caribbean movies. This is a remake of Hideo Nakata's 1998 movie, Ringu. Bohan Bazelli is the cinematographer, who I would like to give a shout out to, because this movie is actually very well shot. Like I said, the atmosphere is palpable in this movie, and the photography is pretty great. Cinematographer on Pumpkinhead, King of New York and California. This movie won Best Horror Film in 2003 Saturn Awards. Naomi Watts getting Best Actress as well. First of a trilogy that most of us have never finished. I personally have never seen part 2 or 3. Perhaps I should get on that. This movie went into production without a finished script. There were 3 drafts by original writer Aaron Kruger. Then Scott Frank is brought on for an uncredited rewrite. Director Gore Verbinski didn't want to hire big stars. He didn't want big names for this movie. He wanted people to discover this movie organically. I guess perhaps he had a feeling that this was going to become the cult classic that we consider it today. There was a lot of harsh criticism from fans of the original Japanese and even the book, which he simply shrugged off as inevitable. He shot the movie in Seattle and around the Pacific Northwest in order to maintain this dreary, wet atmosphere that is pervasive throughout the movie. This movie is shot on film rather than digital. It's known for its soft lighting. Like I said, they use lens filters to maintain the isolated vibe that the whole movie has, to very great effect, I think. Another note, The Ring may refer to the phone call one gets upon completion of viewing the videotape. Or, which is far more likely, the circle of light that we learn Samara sees as she is shut up at the bottom of a well in somebody's, sealing the top of that well off. They're shutting it off, and as the lid is shoved into place, there's just this ring of light left. Seeing as how that's shown on the videotape, I would say that's probably what the title refers to. For advertising, footage of the cursed videotape was played in late-night programming without any reference to the film, and physical copies were left in movie theater parking lots on people's windshields, which is pretty awesome, and I hope that whoever received these just kept them and didn't tape over them or throw them away, not knowing what the hell they had. Seeing as how this movie is now 23 years old, I highly doubt I'm going to spoil anything for you. So let's get into the plot a little bit. Rachel is hunting down the source of this mysterious videotape. Her niece died. Through a little poking and prodding, she learns that her niece, a teenager, and some of her friends rented this cabin out in the woods, and they all watched this weird videotape, which she watched, and immediately she receives a call, just the ominous message, 7 days. So of course, we all know that in 7 days after watching the videotape, you die. Unless, as we learn by the end, you show it to somebody else. That's the only way to escape your fate, is to pass it on. She enlists the help of her ex. I don't know if they were married, just her ex-guy, father of her son, Noah. He is a videographer. Together they take separate paths to further their search for the source of this tape, and Rachel eventually finds her way to this little island town, this little fishing town, where we meet Brian Cox as Richard Morgan. We learn that his wife and child, Anna Morgan, the wife, and Samara Morgan, have both died. He's living this kind of isolated lifestyle now. He's just like a jaded old man, I suppose, but just doesn't have the will to end it himself. He's kind of trudging on. You know, life is a little stagnant for him. Anyway, Rachel goes there after this creepy scene on the ferry. We further discover that Samara was an odd child, and she had this ability to imprint her thoughts onto film.
Samara, how did you make these pictures?
I don't make them. I see them. And then they just are.
Samara, I need you to start telling me the truth.
And, you know, of course, this is where the videotape came from. Rachel recognizes a lot of scenes from the film. There's the mirror that the woman is standing in front of is in Richard's house. The lighthouse is on this island. She recognizes a tree from the video at the cabin that she originally rented to track down, to retrace the footsteps of her niece. So she's starting to put all the clues together, and she she discovers that the child Samara was murdered by her own mother, by Anna Morgan, pushed down a well and sealed up in it.
I know things will get better. All I ever wanted was you.
And then Anna herself threw herself off a cliff, as we see in the videotape. And so this becomes one of those movies where the ghost seems really scary, but just wants peace, just wants to be laid to rest somewhere, and in justice for their death. Rachel goes to the cabin. She finds the well, and she almost gets trapped in there herself, but she does find the body. They lay Samara to rest, and all is well. Or is it? I don't know. The movie's not quite over. We wake up the next morning. Rachel is in bed, and her son jumps up there with her, and he's like, "Is everything okay now?" And she's like, "Yeah, we found her, and we let her out of the well. We put her in a good spot to spend eternity." And he's like, "Why the fuck did you do that, you goddamn idiots?" No, look, here's the clip.
You helped her?
Yeah.
Why the fuck did you do that, you goddamn idiots?
What's wrong, honey?
You weren't supposed to help her.
It's okay now. She's not gonna hurt you.
Don't you understand, Rachel? She never sleeps.
Of course, we're cutting to Noah, and this is kind of like, we're at the very end of the movie, and this is like the scene for the movie, pretty much. Noah's at his super cool industrial living space, and the TV suddenly turns on, and it's the tape. And he's like, "Oh shit, I thought this was all over," but it's not. There's a new scene. We see Samara climbing out of the well on the tape in black and white, and she's slowly approaching the camera. And lo and behold, you all know what happens. She crawls right out of the TV, and it's curtains for Noah. And so here we end on the cliffhanger. Rachel has her son make copies of the tape, and they're gonna pass it on so that they can be free from the curse of the haunted VHS tape. They're gonna show it to other people, which kind of sucks for them, but gotta do what you gotta do. Like I said before, this movie is a vibe. It is just it's so atmospheric. I don't want to say it's any sort of artistic masterpiece or anything, because it's definitely not. But considering the quality of horror that was coming out in the early 2000s, this movie really kind of stands alone in terms of quality and atmosphere, and just seriousness. I suppose this would almost be elevated horror of the early 2000s, if you're into that term. I know a lot of people hate that term. I don't really give a shit about it. But If it's been, 23 years since the last time you watched it, like maybe the last time you watched this movie was on VHS, go back to it. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by like how well this movie holds up as a horror movie. There's some hokey things in it for sure. The distorted faces and like the security camera at the convenience store that Noah goes to, or Rachel's taking pictures of herself with a point and shoot digital camera, and her face is all distorted. That seems a little goofy in this day and age, but back then it was like, ooh, it's just, it holds up really well, and it's still a very enjoyable start to finish kind of horror movie that you can really dive into and get lost and like dissociate for a little while. Everybody's performances are very good, especially the kid, what's his name, Martin Henderson, did a fantastic job at being this just like creepy, serious little kid. He really kind of, he steals like every scene that he's in almost. I don't want to say he carries the movie, because Naomi Watts definitely carries this whole entire movie. She does a really good job. What else is there to say? I mean, I'm sure you have memories of the first time you watched this movie as like a teenager or somebody in their early 20s, and finding that like that student film videotape like kind of creepy and unsettling. I know I certainly did, even though I was far too old. Dude, when this movie came out, I was like 24 or something like that. So, you're a little old to be scared by this movie, but nevertheless I was. Not so much anymore. Horror has definitely changed as a genre, but really fun movie. If you've never seen it, go watch it. It's a cult classic for a reason. This is kind of like one of those must-watch horror movies. You wanna say that you've seen The Ring. Go watch the original Japanese movie. Don't read the book because it sucks. Don't anybody give a shit for watching movies all the time because their world sucks. Especially these days, the world definitely sucks. So watch some movies, man. Like, make yourself feel better. Go to your comfort and happy places. We got a lot of weird times ahead of us in the next 4 years at least. So enjoy yourself when and where you can. Take it where you can get it. My name is Matt Eddy. This has been $2 Horror. Thanks so much for stopping by. Like, subscribe, share all the YouTube shit. And we will see you next month. I'm not sure what we're watching yet. Maybe The Changeling. Yeah, let's do The Changeling. That sounds alright. So I'll see you then. Adieu.